What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This video is a continuation of the last video I made, right? As you guys know, I was being followed in Brazil. And let me just make this straight, right? So we can all understand each other. The reason why I make these videos, right? It's not for attention, because I don't need attention. And whatever attention I need, right? I get it from the right people, right? And I'm not saying this because any of you guys have told me that. I'm just setting the record straight. I'm making these videos because this whole story, right, the whatever happened in Brazil is connected to what's been happening to me for the last 8 months. I just didn't know that the person that I was working with, filming videos for, right, filming content for, was all in cahoots with everyone. I'm also making these videos, right, for my protection, to have everything documented, to have everything registered, right? Because if I don't say anything, right, I'll just go unknown. I think that's what happens to a lot of people, right? A lot of people don't talk about what's happening, but I'm different. My life purpose is not only doing music, doing art, although I make everything creative because I am that person. But my life purpose is also to help others, right? Heal others from whatever traumas, right? Whatever traumatic events, right? And I received this gift from the skies above. A beautiful blue heron just passed by. I think it was destiny, right? All this had to happen to me so I could show other people to not be scared to speak their mind, right? So I can show other people that when something wrong is done to them, they have the right to speak about it. I've always been an authentic person, right? There's no reason for me to make anything up. There's no reason for me to do anything exaggerated, because I don't need that in my life, right? I'm already busy enough doing everything that I do. And I don't consider that busy because I love doing what I do. I love creating music. I love creating art. I love making new pieces for my brand PAPI wear. But since this whole situation happened to me, what better way to set an example than me doing what I always talk about? I'm gonna make this video sweet and short. The day before I left to Brazil alone, right? No one expected for me to actually go back to Brazil, right? After I was only in LA for 1 day. So when I brought that up to the person that I was working for, right? He was kind of like surprised. He was kind of shook. He had helped me get my dog from my friend's mom's house, which she was taking care of him the whole time I was in Brazil for the month. And right after that, he said he had to do an errand. He had to speak with his attorney. So he drove to downtown LA, and me and my doggy stayed waiting in the car. He said he had to go see his attorney for a loan. And then I also remember that the whole time we were in Brazil, he kept showing me his credit card debt, right? It was like negative 30,000. He was very erotic and just enraged and just like super anxious, like, Ray, we have to make a video go viral because I'm $30,000 in debt. And in my head, I'm like, okay, girl, I mean, I'm gonna just do what I do. I'm gonna record my videos and hopefully it goes viral, right? So your business can boom. That same day, I had edited some videos at his house because we had just came back from Brazil. The only place that I was at when we came back from Brazil was at his house, because the next day I was already going to Brazil. He said that I could work from there while I was in Brazil, right? Which is, I need to work, right? I need to edit videos while I'm there so I could make money, so I could pay for food, I could pay for my Airbnb, right? So I could pay for my phone bill, right? So I could pay for just regular things. So I was like, okay, I'll be good, right? I could go back to Brazil and really just relax, right? Really enjoy my time there. And also, right, I'll be getting paid every week, like he promised, like he said, because I always do my job, right? Any time that he's paid me was because I've done my work, and that's it. Nothing else, nothing extra, that's it. I needed a place to rest that night, right? For me and my dog to rest that night, because the next day I was going to Brazil. He paid me $500 from whatever he owed me. While I was trying to get the flight to Brazil, right, for the next day, he knew that I needed to go the next day because I couldn't keep spending $100 a day for a room because I didn't have a place. And, you know, it's super cheap in Brazil. I can get an Airbnb there. So he helped me get my flights, right? I took out my laptop. There was 2 flights, one for 207 and one for 295, right? He kept having me going back and forth on the browser. I was like, let me get the 295, right? This one's cool. It's super easy. But for some reason, he kept wanting me to get the 207, right? The flight that was $207. And, you know, I had put the correct date for the next day. And he was just insisting for me to get that one. So I was just like, you know what? It's 207. Like, I didn't even think about it. So I bought that one. And then he was like, also, your luggage, you don't get it now. You can pay for it later. Then it was getting kind of late. So I needed to sleep with my dog, right? Knowing that the next day I was going to go to Brazil. We drove to a motel, right? Which I don't mind. I don't mind where I sleep, right? I just needed to sleep, a place to sleep for that night. It's something that he's never done before, right? He sent me the money to pay for the hotel so I could buy it with my card. He also sent me the money to buy the flight to also pay for my flight. And that's something he's never done before. He always, even if he takes it out of my paycheck, right? He always pays for it with his business card. So the next day I realized, right, that I have not gotten a check-in notification for my flight. So I immediately checked the flight, and the flight that he told me to get, right, said May 10th. I got a little bit freaked out. I'm like, oh, I have to go to Brazil like today because I don't have a place to stay here, and I've already paid for my Airbnbs, and you know, I can't keep spending money, $100 on a room. I called him, you know, immediately because he's the person I work for, right? He was just like, Ray, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. And he's never said that before, right? Usually if anyone makes an error in the business area, he'll pay for it, right? I also found that kind of weird. So he kind of left me figuring it out. And he knows that I didn't have money because he hasn't paid me yet for the time that I was in Brazil. So whatever, I figured it out, right? I was able to get a flight that same afternoon to Brazil. So I sent him the screenshot of the flight. When I got to the airport, right, to finally just wait for my flight, I realized that the flash drive, which contains videos for me to edit so I can get paid, was not in my backpack. And that's already weird, right? Because I've been working for him for 8 months. Like I've said, that's never happened to me. I've never lost anything in the workplace. So that was already weird, right? And I text him, you know, I asked him if he has the flash drive, if it's at his house, because that was the last time that I have taken my flash drive out of my backpack, and it was to edit some videos. So he replies back saying that he'll go pick it up wherever it's at. Wherever the hard drive is, right? He'll go pick it up. Why? Because it's important. It has all the videos in there. As that was happening, I kind of did think that I did lose it, right? So I immediately called the motel that I had stayed at the night before. I called them so many times, they didn't even answer the phone, right? And they finally answered, and the guy said that my check-in was until 2 p.m., right? And remember I said earlier that I had left the motel super early in the morning, like around 9. And then I tell him that, hey, why don't you go to the motel, right, and check if it's there, because technically I'm still checked in the hotel. So if for whatever reason that I know it's not in the motel, right, because last time that I took that hard drive out was at his house, right? If the hard drive was so important, right, because it's worth $30,000, right, the same as his debt that he was showing me on his phone. If the hard drive is worth $30,000, don't you think he would go to the motel, right? Don't you think he would go on a wild goose ride for the flash drive? But no, that's not what he wanted to do, which kind of contradicted the previous message, right, of how important those videos were. And also, right, when you record videos on the camera, right, those videos See that flag? Those videos are saved on an SD card, right? That's in the camera. Then connect the SD card to your computer, right? And transfer those files from the SD card to the flash drive, right? So the SD cards have the original raw footage. If the footage in there was so important, right? Why would he get rid of the footage that was in the SD card, right? Because he doesn't need those SD cards. Those SD cards are already for the videos that we filmed at those places, right? And that's raw footage. And also, right, since I've been working with him for 8 months, I know that he would never do that, right? He always keeps all of the original files, right? He would never just give me the only files that he has. Never, ever. If for whatever reason that was the only copy of the videos that you had, right? Which is not true, because there will be no reason for you to delete that from the SD card at all, because you have tons of SD cards. Wouldn't you go on a wild goose ride for that flash drive? So at that point, right, when I seen that he was contradicting himself on the text messages, right, knowing, right, my intuition, knowing how practical I am, right, because I'm not only spiritual, right, I balance practicality with spirituality, and that shows on everything that I do. And the information is there, right? You're going back and forth, right? It's go to you, but you don't want to go on a wild goose ride, right? It's important to you, but you don't want to check if it's in the motel, right? It's important to you, but you would delete the original copies, which has never been done before. He has a whole flash drive, right, full of original files from years ago. So there will be no reason for him to delete that. And it finally dawned on me, right, that the only reason he would create this little moment of tension was so I wouldn't get on my flight to Brazil, because that was the only thing he could do. He still owed me $2,000 from the job that I did in Brazil, right, the previous month, which was me editing those videos. And that's another reason for him to create this whole lie about the hard drive being lost, right? Why else? So he wouldn't pay me the other $2,000, right? But it's okay, because I didn't need those $2,000, right? I was able to figure it out in Brazil, right? I was able to pay for my food. I was able to pay for my Airbnb in Brazil, right? With my own money, right? That I've made with my brand PAPI wear. I don't need a lot. I could be under a tree and I'll be happy, right? And because I still decided to go on my trip, right? Because I knew it had nothing to do with that. That's why immediately he had to get that flight for that guy that was following me around in Brazil, like my last video. Because I knew so much about everything that he's already done. So he had to find me somehow, right? I even found 2 AirTags in my luggage, and I threw them away right when I got to the airport.